Aldi is opening more stores in America this year than almost any grocery chain in the country. 180 new locations, $9 billion in investment, a 50th anniversary campaign. 17 million new customers walked through their doors last year alone. By every number that matters to a boardroom, Aldi is winning. So why does it feel like everyone online is saying the same thing? That Aldi isn't what it used to be. Go looking and you'll find thousands of these complaints. Moldy produce, burnt bagels, bananas that go brown before you even get them home, shrinking package sizes on the same shelf price. People calling the seasonal aisle, the one everybody used to love, overpriced Temu quality junk. This is happening at the same time Aldi is expanding faster than it ever has. That's the paradox at the center of this story. A company throwing more money at growth than ever before, while a rising number of the customers who built its reputation say the thing they loved about it is quietly disappearing. To understand how we got here, you have to go back to 1946, when two German brothers, Karl and Theo Albrecht, took over their mother's small grocery store and built it around a radical idea for the time. Cut everything that doesn't directly lower the price. No fancy displays, no wide aisles, no brand names taking up shelf space you could use for something cheaper. Just a tight list of products, mostly their own, sold as efficiently as possible. It worked so well that by the 1960s the brothers split the company in two, Aldi Nord and Aldi Sud, reportedly over a disagreement about whether to sell cigarettes. Aldi Sud is the version that came to the United States in 1976, opening its first store in Iowa. 50 years later, that same stripped-down formula has made it the third largest grocery chain in the country by store count, trailing only Walmart and Kroger. The formula never really changed. Small stores, a tiny fraction of the products you'd find at a normal supermarket. Quarter deposits on shopping carts to force people to return them. Bring your own bags or pay for one. Employees trained to scan groceries at blistering speed because payroll is one of the biggest costs in retail, and Aldi keeps its headcount lean on purpose. For decades, shoppers accepted this trade-off happily. You gave up selection and a little bit of polish, and in exchange, a family of four could save close to $4,000 a year on groceries. That math worked. It's still working technically, but something underneath it has started to shift. Start with the shoppers because they're the ones sounding the alarm loudest. Search Aldi complaints, and you'll find the same handful of grievances repeated for years. Spoiled produce, inconsistent stock, and a phenomenon shoppers have started calling the broken restock cycle, where items that sell out fast never come back, while products nobody wants keep reappearing on the shelf. Then there's shrinkflation, the quiet trick of shrinking a product instead of raising its price. Aldi shoppers have flagged it on snack items, on wafer rolls, on things that used to be a certain size and just aren't anymore. None of this is unique to Aldi. Every grocery chain in America has done some version of it, but Aldi built its entire identity on being the honest, no-tricks option. When the tricks show up here too, the backlash lands differently. Then look at what Aldi calls its Aldi finds. The rotating aisle of surprise items. Kitchen gadgets, seasonal decor, the occasional stand mixer that used to be the store's most beloved quirk. It was originally a way to move over stock and keep shopping feel like a treasure hunt. Now it's becoming something closer to a dedicated profit center, stacked with imported low-cost goods that carry thinner margins for Aldi to lose, and fatter margins for Aldi to keep. Shoppers notice the shift before any earnings call confirmed. One Reddit user summed up the sentiment that spread across dozens of threads, calling the section the aisle of shame, full of items that look fine in the store and fall apart within a week. A gimmick built on delight is slowly turning into a gimmick built on volume, and longtime shoppers can tell the difference. Then there are the employees, the ones running those famously fast checkout lines. Aldi pays competitively for retail, and it's often ranked well by workers for that reason. But the same lean staffing model that keeps prices low also means fewer hands doing more work. Fewer people to restock, fewer people to catch a rotting bag of clementines before it hits the shelf. Fewer people to smooth things over when a customer is upset. The efficiency that saves you money at checkout is often the same efficiency customers are complaining about in the produce aisle, and then there's the move that might matter most long-term, the quiet rebranding of Aldi's private label products. More than 90% of what Aldi sells is store brand, hidden behind names shoppers grew attached to over decades: Season's Choice, Benton's Baker's Corner. Starting last year, Aldi began slowly stripping those names off the packaging and replacing them with one word: Aldi. On paper, it's a branding decision, an attempt to build recognition the way Trader Joe's or Costco's Kirkland has. But it's also erasing the specific identities loyal shoppers built loyalty around in the first place, right at the exact moment quality complaints are already climbing. It's a strange time to be asking people to trust one big name more, not less. If you're enjoying this kind of breakdown, this is basically what we do every week. Pulling apart companies that look fine on paper but are quietly cracking underneath. Subscribing costs nothing, and it genuinely helps the channel keep growing. So if you haven't already, now's a good time. Here's where it gets more interesting, because Aldi isn't blind to any of this. Executives have leaned hard into a specific talking point: value. CEO Addie McGrath has repeatedly framed the expansion as a direct response to what shoppers want, cutting prices on hundreds of products this year alone and pointing to the fact that 1 in 3 American households shopped at Aldi in the past 12 months. On the surface, that's leadership responding to the moment. But look closer at what they're actually optimizing for. Every public statement is about store count, new markets, and household reach. Almost none of it addresses the produce complaints, the shrinking package sizes, or the rebranding backlash directly. It's growth as the answer to everything, even the questions growth didn't create. That instinct got Aldi into real trouble a few years ago, when it was hit with lawsuits alleging its salmon was marketed as sustainably sourced while actually coming from industrial farms in Chile using practices flagged by independent ocean watch groups. One suit came from a shopper named Jessica Rawson, the other from the nonprofit Toxin Free USA, and both argued the same basic point. The word sustainable on the package was doing a lot more marketing work than the fish itself could back up. Aldi fought the claims for years, lost multiple attempts to get the case dismissed, and eventually agreed to change its marketing to make the lawsuits go away, all without admitting wrongdoing. It's a small case in the grand scheme of a company this size, but it fits a pattern. Grow first, market confidently, and clean up the specifics only once someone forces you to. That pressure isn't isolated to the US either. Aldi's UK arm has been sounding a similar alarm, with its chief executive warning that new operating costs could force prices up despite the company having already spent hundreds of millions of pounds trying to shield shoppers from inflation. Profits across Aldi's UK business fell more than 20%, even as sales hit a record. That's the same story playing out on a different continent. Record top-line numbers, shrinking room to maneuver underneath them, and a leadership team insisting the value promise is safe, while the math gets harder to make work every quarter. And here's the number that should worry them more than any lawsuit. Foot traffic at Aldi grew a little over 7% in the first half of last year. Genuinely strong growth by grocery standards. But Trader Joe's, a smaller, slower-growing chain with a fraction of Aldi's marketing muscle and expansion budget, grew almost 12% in the same window. Lidl, Aldi's closest rival in format and philosophy, is also expanding aggressively, chasing the exact same price-sensitive shopper. Aldi is spending $9 billion, opening stores in a new state roughly every year, rebranding its entire product line, and it's still getting outpaced by a company opening a few dozen locations with barely any advertising at all. Money is buying Aldi square footage. It isn't buying the thing Trader Joe's still seems to have for free. Trust that the experience inside hasn't changed. So is anyone actually not buying at Aldi anymore? Not really, not in the numbers. More people are shopping there than ever before. But that's exactly what makes this worth paying attention to. A company can keep growing for years on momentum built long before the cracks appeared, right up until the moment the momentum runs out and the cracks are the only thing left standing. Aldi didn't win shoppers with the biggest stores or the flashiest marketing. It won them by being the one place that didn't lie to you about what you were getting. The scoreboard says Aldi is thriving. The comment sections say the thing that made people trust it in the first place is exactly what's starting to slip. They're not the only discount chain riding this exact tension right now. Dollar General built an entire empire on the same promise of stripped-down value, and it's currently unraveling in a much more dramatic way. Click here to see how it happened.